Hello everyone, it's Dr. Fred. I have a question for you. What's so special about now? Well, it turns out that now is the time where you can actually shift the way you've been looking at your life for all these years. If you're somebody who's had a diagnosis for many years and you saw yourself as having a psychiatric diagnosis and having to deal with it or treat it or at least pay attention to it, maybe the data is correct, but maybe the data describes a story rather than who you are as a human. You see, once you take on these conditions, you sort of become them and you allow for the behaviors that merit the condition in the first place. And what I'm suggesting is that even if you've had that condition that you have agreed to take on when your clinician gave it to you, maybe it doesn't represent at all who you are, and maybe in fact it can be disappeared. So maybe if you've had this condition for a long time, it is time to relinquish the condition. The condition itself has served a purpose up until now, but maybe you're not a slave to the habits and behaviors that have led you to today. You see, at any given moment, we can say something different. We can be someone new. We can actually think things that are different than we've ever thought before, and we can do things that we've never done before. And what a diagnosis suggests is that maybe we can't do those things because we're afflicted, or we're defective, or deficient, or affected, or maybe we're actually ill. Maybe we have a syndrome, but let's say we don't. And let's say, in fact, that all the conditions that you thought you had until now can be reversed in such a way that you no longer have to deal with them. Wouldn't that be great? But what if we looked at the same data that has led to this condition and had you convinced that you had it, and upend it or put it on its side and start seeing that it's really just been a form of the human condition? Now, I'm not minimizing the misery or the unpleasantness or the spectacular discomfort you may have had at some time in your life. I'm only suggesting that having those experiences doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, and doesn't mean that you have a mental health or a mental illness diagnosis. So the idea is that these diagnoses are rather nebulous, or rather arbitrary, they're rather fabricated, and it's okay to relinquish them. It's okay to leave them behind. So let's unlearn what the limits are, and let's rediscover what makes us whole. Because once we start from being whole, all sorts of new possibilities come into vision.